About a dozen years ago, there was a man named Daryl Dennis in Arkansas and got out of prison again, killed an 18-year-old young boy, and that led to our community and to our legislator wondering how we're going to have public safety for Arkansans. Those series of conversations over those years led to us having the fastest growing prison population in the nation from 12 to 16. And because what the commissioner said is we operate in silos, the impact to child welfare was unexpected and immediate. The growth curve for incarceration and foster care in Arkansas was the same. And because we don't budget like a business would, if you have more customers, you get more revenue, right? That's not the way it happened. We had these twin crises that were wildly expensive, and as the populations grew, our ability to deal with it for recidivism or reunifications was degraded. People left in droves, both in corrections and in foster care. I'm getting some nods. So these pendulum swings are usual in our lives, but that's what led to this model that I'm going to briefly tell you about and show you just a little bit of. It was out of sheer desperation that we knew that we couldn't start another program or scale a couple of programs around the state. We had to take a different perspective of how is it that we would equip a community to work together to align their services and make it personalized to the individual. And what our premise was is if we could do that, then we're going to close this execution gap. That was the premise. So Fort Smith, Arkansas, if you've watched True Grit, either the first or the second version of that movie, that's Fort Smith was the town. Fort Smith was a large manufacturing town. As globalization happened, the jobs started to move out and families started to suffer. Drug use went up, child welfare went up, and so the governor said, you're talking about this collective impact thingy. I don't know what that is, but why don't you go to Fort Smith, because they need it more than anyone else, and see if you can build one of those kumbaya, everyone's going to hold hands and get along and work together things. And so that's exactly what we did, is we went to Fort Smith, and we were expected to be received with open arms because they were all in crisis and they couldn't wait for folks from Little Rock to come to Fort Smith and give them the solution to the problems that they were receiving. Yeah, that first meeting was awful, y'all. I had a judge ask me, stop in the middle of a room not quite this large, and he said, did y'all take that 440 in? It's like, yes, sir, we did. And he goes, there's a quicker way on your way out. You know, and don't you have problems in Little Rock you need to be solving? Why are you over here up in our business? But after a number of years, what happened in the Fort Smith community, I'm going to tell you about. So there are two parts to what need to occur really to be able to get this collective impact, where you individually and your organizations are more efficient because you're not trying to solve the saw problem if you've got the hammer or the screwdriver, but you're partnering with the people that do. One is you've got to get the community organized. The community has to form what we call an alliance. It's a coalition that can function together. You can execute. So not only do you know each other and know what each other are doing or what's up in your world, but you're actually able to collaborate for a client that you're each serving in some way. And then there needs to be, at the client level, at the participant level, there has to be a way to help them navigate through this alliance, through you all, in the proper sequence. If someone can't pass a drug test, they don't have reliable transportation, and their driver's license is suspended, but they dream of being a truck driver and making $60K, right? You're not sending them to the workforce. It's not the right time. Yet, in Little Rock, I'll say, and it might be true here too, is someone in that very state right now is walking into workforce because they're miserable. And it's the only place they know to go. And they're like, if I just had a job, a lot of my problems would go away, right? I'm seeing some head nods. And the person may even onboard them through your awful 32-page workforce application that was given to you from the Fed. But you can't help them because they don't possess the services to actually help them have a clean UA, to get their driver's license back, or to help them get enough money to buy a car so they can actually get to school and then hopefully to work. And so that's the organization that needs to occur. So here are the three components of the solution. There is an alliance, there's this technology that I'm going to show you a picture of, and then there's an advocate. This advocate will serve the alliance by meeting with clients at a point of contact, so a referral from children and family services, maybe they're coming out of jail, however it is that you choose to organize your alliance up. They will meet with that individual, they will do a thorough assessment, and then they will start building a support team in the software. Those are the three things that need to be built in this community. This model has been used in the last 12 months to serve over 11,000 people in deep crisis, 50% of which had zero source of income when they were met. Many of them had child welfare cases, many of them were under felony supervision, some of them had both those things going on or all three of those things going on. There are over 1,800 professional alliance members in Arkansas alone, and on average there are 10 different providers on one person's account. That could be multiple nonprofits, it could be a government PO or child welfare worker that's all in this case, all talking together. Did Paul Chapman show up for his meeting? Paul doesn't have insurance, but he needs to go to counseling. So you would add an insurance agent or work, however it is that whoever writes insurance here, you would get them added to the care team. They would write the appropriate insurance, and then you're reaching out to the behavioral health through the software. Hey, at Karen, I need the very first appointment after the first of the month because insurance will be turned on the first of the month. I've got the 5th at 10 o'clock. Great. He'll be there. Paul's going to be there at 5th at 10 o'clock. And then this advocate is following up with Paul to make sure that he can get there and he doesn't forget that the appointment's there. And then the counselor comes back. This doesn't replace the counselor's EHR, but the counselor comes back and says, Paul showed up. And then the PO goes, hey, outstanding, check. You know, I'm not going to bust Paul's chops when he's in here to find out if he actually showed up or not, because I know. And I know that Paul's working, because I can see it in there, because staff mark helped him, or workforce helped him, someone helped him. And he's actually got a job now. And so that starts to make us very efficient in using our time, makes it very effective in being able to connect people to the services that they need when they need it. And in Fort Smith, Arkansas, who had 28 kids per 1,000 in foster care, the national average is 5 kids per 1,000. They had 28 kids per 1,000 in foster care. They had the highest conviction to incarceration ratio in the state at the time. If you were wanting to really party, Fort Smith was the wrong place to go. 44% conviction to incarceration ratio. Fayetteville, Arkansas, where the U of A is, that's the place you want to go. It's 25% at the same time. So we were incarcerating a lot of people and putting a lot of people into foster care, and then the kids couldn't get out of foster care. They've had over a 50% reduction in kids in foster care. They're now just ticked from 12 to 11 kids per 1,000 in foster care after just a couple of years. It's impacted incarceration in the local jail. It's impacted crime also in that community. The way that Fort Smith works together now is so different than when the judge told me to get out of town. For instance, the police chief, a couple of years ago, post-COVID, crime was coming down, and it was coming down across the nation, but Fort Smith was outpacing the general national decline in crime. But he was doing his presentation and his data analytics on all this crime for a report to the Fort Smith board. Before he made that report to the board, he calls and he says, we need to do one of these collective impact things because juvenile crime is on the way up. That never would have happened beforehand because everyone was so stressed out you needed to bury data like that because the police force can't really impact that. They're a reactionary force. But what instead they did is they called a room about this big of judges and community providers, and they said, we're going to show you exactly what's happening, and we've got to figure out how we're going to respond. The schools were there, and they've done that. So let me show you this software real quick. So this is HopeHub. It's a collaborative case management system. It's for the nerds in the room. It's HIPAA, FERPA, COPA compliant, or the lawyers in the room. The first thing that would happen would be an advocate would ask Miss Susie, hey, I'm going to put a team around you of all these different community providers. Do you want that? And if she does, then you would fill out these consent forms. I'm giving you permission to share my information with everyone, except for Paul Chapman at Restore Hope. I don't like him at all. I can't believe that you would even partner with him. He's awful. And so you would type in the system, and you can't add Paul Chapman at Restore Hope to the system. And then the advocate will go and have a very long conversation, half an hour to an hour, listening, but filling out this assessment that starts to capture the situation that Susie's really in multiple areas. In fact, there are 13 areas like this in which there's a 1 to 5 scale that's really well defined. And this is important because we're going to track, this says childcare if you can't see that. We're going to redo this assessment every month. The advocate will. And you're going to be able to track progress or regress across these 13 different areas like housing and employment and childcare and safety and education, financial stability. And you'll be able to find out exactly, if you're the advocate or on the team, what Susie needs now. But you're also going to know at a community level what's really happening with the people that you all are serving. Where are the gaps? You already know some of them. Transportation is going to be a gap here, right? Substance abuse is going to be a gap. But it's going to start to quantify it at a level that you probably just have been unable to be able to collect all that data, especially in a way that's so rapid that you can actually start to base decisions on it as a community. And then when you try something, like a community in the Delta of Arkansas did, in Searcy, Arkansas, we had a lot of moms from DCFS who were being served in this collaborative way, but they weren't getting employment. And we started asking, are they unemployable? Are they, what do we need to do? Is it school? It wasn't that, it was childcare. It's the only childcare that was there that took the voucher was completely full. And so there was a pastor in one of these alliance meetings, and he said, Downtown Church of Christ, we've got space, got lots of space. It's empty during the week. He said, but I don't, we're not going to run a daycare. And there was an FQHC that's there. And they said, we know how, we would like to run that. And we know how to pull down the money to run that. And so they partnered together, and there's a daycare there that gives preferential treatment to folks with vouchers, whether it be a foster family or a mom. And you saw it immediately on the dashboard, and employment ticked up, and foster and childcare started to go to the good. And so the community responds when you get a collective win, right? There is a belief, especially, it's probably none of y'all because you came voluntarily to a meeting like this, but when you're in this hard work for a while, you can start to get nihilistic. I started this whole do-gooder journey because there was a pesky pastor at my church that said you should go get involved in the community and love people. And started volunteering with my men's group inside of a prison, trying to help guys get out and stay out. I found out how hard that was for them. The difficulty was in this connecting them to these services, which then led me to be a professional do-gooder. I thought we would crack recidivism in 2 years. I thought, all it needs is just some really good thinking for a couple of years, and we'll fix this recidivism problem. It was 21 years ago. Don't have it licked yet, but we're working on it. Okay, so childcare, you're going to be able to see exactly what's going on. I want to show you a dashboard, and then Will's going to come up and give you an opportunity to actually start thinking about the Alliance and then creating an account for yourself. We've configured the system for Tennessee. You've got dashboards that are built, so as soon as you start onboarding clients, you're going to be able to see the results of that here. This is a dashboard that shows it defaults to, in the last 12 months, there were 4,400 clients that were served in this collaborative way. just over 1,000 in the last 12 months had completed their journey from crisis to career. Some of those folks made it in 6 months. Some of those folks made it in 3 years. Some of those folks are in collaborative service for 3 years and they haven't made it yet. Okay, but that's okay. It's not a program, right? It's a way of coordinating services to give people access to the programs that they need for the services that they need at the time that they need it, and they can move at their own pace. It collects data. In Arkansas, if we take a child into foster care and reunification's goal, it usually doesn't happen 43% of the time. Are we able to actually put the child back in mom's home when we make that permanency decision? But in the last 12 months, it's 68%. So you've had a pretty good, you go from, especially when advocates have like a lived experience, and they go back into the court that they were in 4 years ago, and their kids were taken, and they've gotten their kids back, and then they've gotten well, and they maintained sobriety, and now they're hired as an advocate and trained. And they go back, this is happening across Arkansas. And they go back into the courtroom, and they'll sit down next to mom, and they'll go, I'm so sorry you're in this situation. I was here 4 years ago. I've got my kids back. You want some help? Like everyone says, yes, I want help. You bet I want help. And so you go from, hey, you're probably not going to get your kids back, to, hey, you're probably going to get your kids back. There's another 18% in the last 12 months that got placed with blood relatives. So the chance now that that child's going to be permanently placed in a home of someone they know is like better than it's ever been before. And so that's one of the metrics that you'll be able to track. There will be other things that will help you and work with the departments to do to figure out, are you getting in front of everyone that has a case? And offering them help. They can tell you to go jump in the lake, but at least you've offered help to them. And if you can get that climbing and you can produce results like this, if you can give them a 20, 25% better chance at a successful outcome, then all of a sudden you start to have, after 2 or 3 years, you've got population level change. And then the people with authority, the law enforcement, child welfare workers, the probation officers, the people in our community that we grant this discretion over people's lives, they'll start to make different decisions. The number of times judges or law enforcement officers have said, we have discretion, but we don't have any options. If you'll create some options that we can trust, they've got to be able to see it. It's got to be transparent. They've got to know that if I'm the judge and I've got robes on, and if this person goes and hurts someone because I didn't throw them in jail, but I gave them to you, I need to be able to trust that you're actually doing something with them and I can see this, right? And so part of the transparency is actually building trust amongst the community. And in a couple of years, there will be population level change. People will use their discretion to take the different options that you can create in this movement. So, okay, last slide, I'm blind as a bat. Last slide is, I just want to show you the map of Tennessee in case you haven't seen it. But we have created the Tennessee map, and as you start to onboard clients in Williamson, that will start to appear here, and then data will start to fill out in these dashboards, which you all, if you've got a HopeHub account, which won't cost you anything, then you'll be able to see some of those insights.